The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning here in Nigeria, Ekechukwu Bagudu, says the country's economy is on path of full recovery. The minister spoke on Tuesday here in Abuja when he appeared before the National Assembly to defend allocations to his ministry in the budget for the 2025 fiscal year. But statistics show a different story, with inflation figures on the rise and citizens grappling with the cost of living crisis. Let's bring in economist Chijoke Ekechukwu, who joins us now. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight. I think you just heard that script of what the minister was confidently stating about this administration's reform, saying it's steering the country to full economic recovery. But the situation on ground, the statistics telling a different story. How do we reconcile this?
Yeah, on the surface, anybody looking at the economy would not see that there are certain recoveries taking place. An average man on the street will want to see recovery that will benefit him or her. So as far as we have people on the street having, struggling to have their incomes satisfy them on a daily basis, then it's going to be difficult for them to believe that there is any recovery going on. But of course, when you look at the fundamentals, yes, the inflation rate is still looking up, but we are going to be looking at how well the economy is looking gradually, the GDP growth that we saw towards the end of last year. And if we continue on that kind of trajectory, we're going to be seeing gradual growth. What I don't want to believe is that we have full recovery, if you said so. But we are recovering gradually from where we used to be. When you look at the fundamentals, you see that people are beginning to, there's a little bit of stability. Of course, the exchange rate is still, the exchange rate issue is still there. But people can plan with what they see today. There is some kind of stability in the exchange rate area. Unlike what we used to have before, you have money, official rate, and everybody actually became FX dealer. You get from official rate and you come to the parallel market, you sell. Those things are no longer there anymore. That market is no longer attractive to speculators. And so if you put that aside and look at productivity of the country, yes, the PMI is not showing that we are growing yet in the manufacturing sector so much. But it's not as bad as it was when the government came in on board. And so we are seeing some growth in certain reforms that are taking place.
It's not as, as bad as it was before this government on paper or on ground? In reality?
No. When they came in, it was bad because that was when the decisions of reform took place. Reform of merging the FX rate, the reform of removal of fuel subsidy. Things were very hard and very tough. That it doesn't mean that things have stopped getting tough today, but what it means is that the capacity of people to tolerate the extent of hardship is just expanding. The elasticity is gradually expanding. And so Nigerians are adjusting their minds to the new situation of the economy.
And I like that you began by saying that the average man on the street would not understand when you say that our country is gearing towards full recovery because they are hungry. Their businesses are not doing well. Their kids cannot go to school, so they will not understand it. So they need to understand that this recovery is trickling down to them. It's trickling down to their businesses. They're making profits. Now, these reforms that you've spoken about, what are some sort of viable alternative strategy to cushion the impact? So even as Nigerians' elasticity to tolerate is getting wider, what are some of the things that the government can put in place to cushion this impact? We now have, they just announced this 50% increase in tariffs for telecoms, also going to affect Nigerians who are the ultimate consumers.
Yes. I can tell you that most of the reforms are the reforms that are supposed to make the government a little more viable than they used to be. if we're talking about reforms of the VAT reforms and all the reforms of even harmonizing FS rates and the reforms of fuel subsidy, they actually meant to make the government look good. As a country, we also need to look good economically, because there was a time our letters of credit were not even accepted by international banks and international bodies. And today, that has been resolved by CBN. You know, our past due obligations in foreign currencies were not paid. Of course, you remember when airlines were leaving in their numbers just because they were owed a lot of money that couldn't be paid. And so, if you know that those things are gradually being resolved today, and most of them have been paid, our LCs are now acceptable by international banks. Those are things that will tell you there is a gradual movement to resolving the problems and resolving the economic issues that we've had. And the same kind of growth are happening in other sectors. You know, so what we need to do, I don't believe in giving palliatives, because I hear they're already planning to credit people with some 75,000. That is not the way to resolve economic issues of the country. I think for an average person doing one business or the other, or somebody who has one skill or the other, we can actually improve on what they are doing, creating more training for people for skills acquisition all over the place. Once the person finishes that training, equip the person with the funding that could actually fund the tools or whatever thing they need to grow their businesses. But if you start crediting money to accounts of people, where do we have the database to credit monies to people? So it's going to be that which is going to reduce cost of living. That's what we're going to be working on. Every effort government has to make to reduce the cost of living for Nigerians. Is it the fuel? I have always imagined there is a solution to this fuel issue. Taking part of what we are producing to give to the refineries at a particular price that actually could be acceptable prices for Nigerians. Instead of determining, allowing the international prices to determine what rate we're selling our fuel. Because there are two things that are instrumental to the rates we're given for fuel pricing today. One is the exchange rate, the other one is the international oil price. So for the exchange rate, is there. We can't touch it. But for the international oil price, we can actually say for the fuel, a particular percentage of crude oil that we'll give to our refineries, and we'll produce at lower prices so that these finished products or petroleum products can be given to Nigerians at a lower rate. That can be handled. And
I think your thoughts when it comes to palliatives or sharing money to certain people in the country aligns with a lot of Nigerians. Yeah. When the federal government announced that, a lot of people kept saying, look, there's no economy in the world that's built on palliatives.
That's right.
Especially one as complex as diverse as Nigeria.
Yes.
And one thing that we know for sure for a country to move forward is to increase production, increase manufacturing, to diversify the economy.
That's right.
We've recorded a trade surplus for 3 consecutive quarters with some non-oil exports, right? We have cocoa, we have sesame seeds. What more can we do to actually push this forward?
Yeah, we're still not going to go too far away from oil. We have the gas sector. We have untapped gas. We flare gas every day, and we're still flaring. Gas is one place that can give us, I call it a ripe, low-hanging fruit, very ripe, that we can actually send out to all the whole world, and we'll start collecting as much as we're collecting from crude oil. We can actually get such revenue from gas. So that flaring has been taking place for many, many years. We can actually right now say, no more flaring, let us channel our gas to proper use. Of course, the CNG is there, and we're using all that, but we can actually start exporting gas right now in order for us to have enough revenue coming from that end. And if we do that, of course, the solid mineral sector is also there. For many years, we have also not harnessed the opportunities that are in that sector. All we tell the whole world all the time is that we have all the solid minerals that exist. So at what stage are we going to start harnessing them and start using them and getting revenues from them? The time is now. And those are the areas we can actually use to increase our revenue.
I think that's a good place to leave it. The time is always, in fact, the time was yesterday for Nigerians. Thank you so much, Chijoke Ekechukwu, who is the MD CEO, Dignity Finance and Investment Limited, and also an economist.